Welcome back to I Pick Passion, the podcast where we dive deep into the journeys of people who are boldly pursuing their passions and making their dreams a reality. Today, I am so excited to introduce Rasheda Crockett, an actress, writer, and creator who's inspiring countless creatives to step out of their comfort zones and into their purpose. Rasheda's journey is one of resilience and courage. From starting out in NYC with big dreams and little guidance to writing her way into opportunities and teaching others through her intro to TV writing workshops, she's proof that betting on yourself can lead to incredible transformations. In this episode, we'll talk about how she overcame fear and rejection early in her career, the wellness practices that keep her grounded, and her advice for aspiring creatives trying to navigate the ups and downs of their own journeys. Whether you're chasing a dream, tackling self-doubt, or just looking for some inspiration, you're in for a real treat. Let's jump into my conversation with the amazing Rasheda Crockett. So I want to let you know that I usually start the show off with a game. It's like an icebreaker that I like to play. And it's a game called Hella Awkward, which I'm obsessed with in the name. And there are 4 categories. You can choose. I'm going to read the categories to you. Choose which one you want to answer, and then we go from there. You got dating, real talk, relationship, and sex.
Dating, real talk, relationships, and, let's do sex since it's the last one you said.
Oh, it is spicy because, it's weird. Nobody usually goes for that one. So I'm like,
I know this. And I was like, you know what? That's a nice girl. Let's see what we got.
All right, what's the most awkward sexual situation you've ever found yourself in?
Okay. All right. I've done a storytelling bit about this because, I'll be doing comedy and stuff.
Yeah.
So this one time, oh my God. So this is in my BC days before Christ. I was talking to this guy. I was in a physical relationship with this guy, and he had just gotten a new dog. So, oh my God, this is horrible. I'm trying to connect with him, and I'm like, all right, you just got a new dog. Go ahead, come on, bring your dog over. And we're getting it in. The freaking dog keeps jumping on the bed. And I'm like, get your dog off my bed. So he's not saying nothing to the dog. It's really taking me out the situation that the dog keeps jumping on the bed. And I yell at the dog and I'm like, get off the bed. Or say, I raise my voice to the dog to get the dog off the bed. He gets mad at me and he's like, you didn't have to talk to her like that. So now I can't say nothing else to the dog. So the dog jumps back on the bed. Grilling is worse. So the dog jumps back on the bed. We're done at this point. We can't go no further with a dog on the bed, right? Because at this point, it's threesome. The dog starts licking his balls, and he does not stop the dog. And that was the last time I talked to that guy.
I don't have words to say.
Yeah, it was that way.
Oh,
and that is by far the most awkward sex thing I've ever encountered.
That is definitely the most awkward. I've never experienced anything remotely close to that. So I don't even know,
I wish that on no one.
Girl,
I don't wish that on anyone.
Because first of all, that's something he be doing regularly. That's something that's like a regular thing for him.
You know what? And I thought something, I was like, all right, well, you know what? If you and your dog, he wouldn't eat. I don't know. That was like,
yeah, that's
and I don't kink shame. I don't kink shame. People are allowed to like what they like, but it's not for me.
If you like it, I love it, but I choose to not. I choose not to partake. So
Yeah, not for me.
Yeah, man.
Not for me.
So that's so good. Okay, so that was the perfect icebreaker. I love it. All right, so now we're gonna go back. We're going to talk about young Rasheda. Who was young Rasheda?
Had a lot to say. Always got on my report card. Rasheda's very talkative. Loved to perform. I loved attention. I was a dancer since I was 6 years old up until probably when I discovered boys. So let's say 13. And then I was just distracted. I knew I wanted to be an actress since I was 9. So that was a huge thing for me. Yeah, I was an entertainer.
That's amazing. That's so cool that you knew early on, because not everybody does. But, so that's amazing that you did.
It's wonderful to think, though. What
Yeah.
if we do all kind of know early on? We just don't you know what I mean? Like, I think when
Yeah.
you're a kid and you are unencumbered with fear and doubt and, the perils of life, you really do be on some, I want to be an actor and a writer and a director and a producer and a college professor. And,
Hmm.
it might sound crazy in the 90s, but then you get older and you realize, oh, wow, I really could be all those things that I wanted to do and that I wanted to be. So I bet you to think that we all kind of know, and we all kind of know around age 9.
I'm not gonna, for myself, I would say I do believe that was true for me. I just, from what I hear for other people, like not everybody knows, or they might discover something later on in life that they're actually passionate about. But when they were a kid, they wanted to be something completely different than what they
Right.
actually turned out to be, or what they actually
Right.
fell in love with as they got older. But for me, I do agree with what you're saying, because I knew early on what I was going to be or what I wanted to do. But
That's true.
not everybody, I don't know that everybody does, but I think that there's
Fair.
signs. I think there's signs, like, when you're a kid, I always believe if you watch a child, they'll show you or tell you who or what they're going to be. Like, if you just pay
Mhm.
attention to them or listen to some of the
Mhm.
things they say, they might actually show or tell you, like, oh, you're going to be something. Like, you can look at a child
Mhm.
like, you're going to be something when you get older. You may not know what it
Mhm.
is, but you know it's gonna be something, you know?
It's gotta be something big. When you were,
Yeah.
what did you want to be?
So when I was a kid, originally, like young, I wanted to be a teacher. That was like the first thing I wanted to be, was a teacher.
Mhm. Mhm.
And because I was inspired by my kindergarten teacher, like I was so like, I love Miss Watts. Like, she still, to this day, I still keep in touch with her now. So,
Mhm.
which is crazy. That was kindergarten. I'm 36 now, and I still keep in touch with her. She's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah,
That is pretty remarkable, by the way, that
yeah,
you still keep in touch with your kindergarten teacher.
yeah.
Listeners, I don't know if y'all caught that. That's deep.
Yeah, we still like, I'll see her and she's like, you gotta come over. And I stay so busy and she's busy, so I never really get to see her or go to her house. But we'll keep in contact via phone. Um, but
That's dope.
I do want to make time for her because she's awesome. But yeah, so I was really inspired by her young. Like, I wanted to
Mhm.
BMW like her. I wanted to be everything that Miss Watts was. Like,
Mhm.
that was me. And then I was really good at mocking people. Like, I could see a person and I could pick up on the way you walk, little like things about you. I was very impressionable. Like, I would watch people and always very curious as a kid.
Mhm.
Then I started writing. So I developed a love for writing very early. Like, as soon as I could
Mhm.
pick up a pen, I was like writing. And then I remember I did a paper in school, and I remember my teacher was like, you're really good at this. Like, you
Mhm.
ever thought about writing? And I was like, hmm, I write for fun. Like, I creative write.
Right.
I create stories or whatever, but I never thought of it like actually writing. And then I actually really kind of engulfed myself in that world of like really like creating and
Mhm.
writing and creating characters and character development and learning all that stuff, like,
Mhm.
as when I was young. And I remember, well, God bless anybody, like my friends, my brother and my sister, God bless them, because they would just go with the flow. I was like, hey, come, like, and I would just get them involved in whatever it was I was doing. And I remember, and they just went with it. God bless them. But
Girl, that's love. That's kinship. Community theater.
and he just trusted me to be like, hey, okay, whatever Erica says, we're gonna do it. And so I remember getting a
That's
cassette
beautiful.
tape, like a cassette tape really early on. I probably might have been like maybe between 11 and 12 years old. And I remember
Mhm.
writing that. I wrote it, a
Mhm.
matter of fact, off the top of my head. I never wrote it on paper until later. Like, I came up with the
Mhm.
concept. I remember I was mad, and I don't know what was going on. Somebody made me mad. I don't know, my mama, my daddy, my sister, somebody made me mad. And I remember disappearing in my bedroom, going upstairs and putting on a cassette tape. And I remember just recording. And then I had this idea. And I was like, wait, this is a story. And I remember getting my brother, my best friend was at the house too. My best friend, my brother, and my sister. And I remember like saying, y'all got to come upstairs. And I remember I recorded and directed and everything, a whole entire, came up with what the story was called. And to this day, It's called A Day Late and a Life Short. That was the
Ooh,
name
that's
of
a
it. It was
great title.
yes, yes. It was kind of like a hood, kind of like a hood story, but
Ooh.
it was so good. And I played all the characters. Like my brother played. I told my brother what he was gonna be. I played different characters. My best friend was characters. My sister was this
Come
character
on,
called Lil Baby.
casting.
Huh?
I said, come on, casting. You
Yes,
don't put together a production in
yes,
your own bedroom at 11. I love that. I
yes.
love
My
that.
sister was Lil Baby. To this day, we still talk about who Lil Baby was. She had a signature line in that story. And when I tell you, I directed that thing, girl. And so I knew right then, I said, I love this. Like, I love being engulfed and immersed in this whole world. And then it's funny because I don't know how I got to journalism. Then after that,
Mhm,
I kind of shifted, started doing journalism. For years, I did that. So I was writing for different
mhm,
publications. And then I knew that I did radio for a minute too. So that was another thing that
mhm,
I did. So I always loved media and
mhm,
creating. That was who I was. And so I always knew I was going to do something like that. And then I was
mhm.
like, I'm going to start my own. So that's how I got to the podcast. I was like, I don't want to write for anybody else. I really just want to do my own thing. And so here I
Yeah.
am. But yes, I
And
always
I
knew
tell
what I wanted to do. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I still
Yeah.
see the through line of like teaching to directing
Okay.
because there is a bit of, I don't want to say telling people what to do, but like guiding and
Mm.
shepherding and ushering people and
Hmm.
directing children and teaching, you know what
Okay.
I mean? Kind of like
Yes.
navigating their way through the day as
Yes.
you feed them new information. Um, kind of seeing what they do on their own and then feeding them a way that you envision it being done. I
Mm.
I, I I see it. I see it. But that's kind of lit. I love this
Yes.
there. You did pick passion. I love that. Good for
Yes, I
you.
did. Thank you, girl. Thank you. And yeah, it's funny you mentioned improv because I actually do improv too. It's funny.
Mhm.
I'm like, I love arts. Like, anyway, anything like I
Mhm.
say, creating, whatever. So I just had my first improv showcase on Wednesday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And when I tell you,
Yeah.
girl, I was like, the nerves, I was like, Lord, yep. So, yeah,
I
girl.
got I cut my gums in improv and sketch comedy because so long story short, even though I knew when I was 9 that I wanted to be an actress, I went to college,
Mm-hmm.
majored in finance because, long story short, my dad was a single parent when I was 9. When I was 9, I got my first acting contract. Like I signed with a manager,
Okay.
but, my parents were divorced, newly divorced, actually, like splitting up at that point. And
Mm.
my dad was a single parent. So one day he sat me down after a couple of auditions and he was like, you know what, Sheeta, when I get up and go to work every day, this is guaranteed. But when I got to take off of work to take you on these auditions, like it's not guaranteed. And I can't afford to keep doing that because I have to raise you and your brother. So if this is something that you want to do, like you can do it when you get older. So I was like, "Hey, I'm 9, but I get it. Uh, and that kind of I didn't realize how fundamental that was for my journey because he empowered me to do it on my own as an adult. He didn't discourage me. He just
Mm.
didn't quite so he couldn't support me.
Mm.
And sometimes that's life, right?
Girl.
So I went to college. I majored in finance because finance sounds like money and money is safe. Money is a safety thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, I lived and I still always wanted to act.
Yeah.
So, it was weird. I was working in finance in the day, going to law school at night, and then somehow still managing to find time to do background work.
Mm.
And I just really loved being on set. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is when I'm an adult and I'm in my early mid 20s. And I was like, oh, yeah, I remember. I wanted to be an actress when I was a kid. And it all kind of just flooded back. And I was like, I still want to do this. And,
Mm.
once you're 25, it's kind of like, okay, I would say now or never, but honestly, there really is no age limit, like to go follow your dream or your passion. So I, moved back to New York and I started taking a scene study class. I was like, guys, how do I make money doing this? They were like, do commercials. And the best way to get into commercials is to take an improv class because casting directors love to see that you can do improv. Commercial casting directors love to see that you can do improv. So, I did my little research. It made the most fiscal and economical sense to go with this school called the Upright Citizens Brigade, aka UCB, because they only had 4 classes. I didn't realize how challenging it would be to matriculate through the 4-class system, but story for another day. But I started taking improv and sketch comedy at UCB, and I also didn't realize how strong of a reputation the school had as far as like improv or comedy schools go. It was founded by Amy Poehler. If it's for pretty, Amy Poehler is the most notable name for me because she was the only woman. And a lot of great comedians got their start there. Natasha Rothwell, she was on a house team on stage at UCB when I first started. Frankly, one of the few Black women at that time. Now, it's gotten much more diverse. Sashir Zameda, she is an actress, super hilarious. She was one of the first, well, not the first Black actress on Saturday Night Live, but there was like a huge season when like a huge era when there weren't any Black women since like Maya Rudolph, and then Sashir came on the scene on SNL, and it was like we were all really excited and happy for her. She's a UCB person. Keisha Zahler from Astronomy. She was actually the diversity coordinator when I started. Keisha was at UCB, and she helped usher me to get a scholarship, and then I was able to take classes with my diversity scholarship, and I also interned at the theater to help pay for classes. So otherwise, girl, I don't know how in that season of my life I would have been able to afford it. But it was a great, and let me not guess it. It was the training that I needed at the time to get me out of my head into my body. It helped my acting. And because, improv is acting in a sense, but it's mostly writing in your head without thinking, if you can make that make any sense. And training your body to work that muscle to think at the top of your intelligence so the things that you say are, not, is not dumb as it can not be at the moment, if that makes sense.
Yes,
so you're not saying things that are like reckless or offensive, so you're thinking at the top of your intelligence in that way without thinking at all. And also, within a structure.
Absolutely.
Because comedy is mathematical. So, and that's sort of how I got my start on my own as an actress and as a writer.
That's
and
awesome. That is so awesome. So you moved back to New York City, which you did mention that's when, so with the dream to become an award winning actress. So what was going through your mind, and how did you keep your confidence up while navigating the unknown at that time?
That's funny, because at the time I didn't realize I didn't know. At the time I was just like, oh, I'm about to go home and win an Academy Award. Like, it can't be that hard. People have been doing it forever. Like, I just didn't think, there was nothing. Girl, when I tell you the thought had never crossed my mind that I wouldn't make it, like maybe somewhere 10 years into the journey, I was like, oh, wow, like there are people who don't make it. And that thought paralyzed me for a second. It was like the first time I had the thought, it began to paralyze me. So I'm so grateful that, my ignorance at that time, I just didn't know what I didn't know. I literally was like, all right, I got 3 months of savings. I'm about to move back home to my dad's house. By 3 months, I will book a big movie and I can just, go, do whatever I want. And, I'll get an Academy Award, and I'll be up. And 3 months into it, that did not happen. And I had to, figure out how to survive. And, God made a way. It's also a huge faith journey for me. And truly, I honestly think for everybody, like, when you make the decision to step out and follow your passion, a lot of times I don't know a lot of times for me, all that is like stepping out on faith and trusting that if God placed this desire in my heart when I was as early as I can grab it, 9 years old, and I'm, in my 20s and 30s and still want that same thing, that can't just, like, I did not create myself. I would not have chosen this for myself. The dark times, the peaks, I would not have chosen this journey for myself. So I have to believe that who created me put this inside of my heart and he has a plan for it. And it puts purpose behind it. You know what I mean? Because I
Yeah.
tried to do other things. I went to college. I majored in finance. I tried law school. None of it was too hard. I wasn't passionate about it. I didn't love it. It didn't wake me up out of bed in the morning. It was just what I did to like survive. I recall I was on this show called Bigger, and we were on hiatus, and I had a boyfriend at the time, and he would be like, you pop up like a daisy in the morning. Like I would just pop up out of bed. Like I just happy, joyful, filled with joy because God confirmed that I was walking in alignment with his will for my life. That made all the difference for me. You know what I mean? So when when you think about confidence, it's hard to not. I mean, things hurt you and things strike you in your heart, but it was easy for me to have confidence.
Yes.
Because I thought about it and I just I don't know. I wanted it so I wanted I couldn't. I don't know. I don't. I wish I could tell you the formula to believing other than just like I don't know. It's a God thing. It it was I don't know. It was just bigger than me.
Okay. I love it. Bigger than like, okay, call back to bigger. Because that's why that's where I discovered you was on Bigger. So the first that was that. So that's amazing. That is so yeah, I love that. And I love that, you talk about it's a God thing. Like and it is unexplainable when you know you love this thing and you know it's in you and you're like, I gotta see this through. Like I don't know how it's gonna work. And honestly, I'm afraid of it because I'm like, wait, why is this is in me? But I feel like I have to see this through. I don't know where it's going to end. I don't know, but I'm trusting because that's the God thing that I believe like it's going to work. This has to work. It has to. And so I 100%, and I wish that because I don't want to sit up here and act like this is what I do full time. I have a full time job. This is what this has always been this has always been my baby, my dream. Like this is my dream to live this passionate life, But as I stand right now, I have a full-time job. I still Monday through Friday. And today was my work from home day. So so I do what I have to do, but I'm balancing both and it's a constant balance. But I'm not myself. I took time off after I was writing for publications and I did my journalism when I was doing journalism for years. I took time off for a while because I was in school, finishing getting my bachelor's degree, and I was working and everything. And I said, I just don't have time, the capacity to be a creative at this moment. But I knew it was always something I was going to circle back around to. And I literally I felt sick. Like I was not myself if I was not creating. Like I was not myself. I just was not. And so, but I knew I was going to circle back. I said, the next time I do something, I'm going to do it for me. And so this is for me is this podcast, really taking this content creating thing serious and really trying to see where it goes because it's my dream to create. So
girl, that's a word. That's a word. Yeah. I'm over here. I'm like, word. That's a word. That's a whole word. And if I can be real with you, I don't know that I don't fear the passion. I fear poverty. Like I didn't fear failing. I didn't think I fear even to this day, like there are peaks and valleys in this industry. In this journey. So like my fear isn't the work, my fear isn't the art, my fear isn't the passion. It's just like, poverty. Fear of, that is, I think, a human thing.
Yes.
I don't even know if that's an artist thing. I remember there are so many things to fear, right?
Yeah.
But the journey kind of broke down fear for me in a lot of ways. I remember this one time. I don't know how just so I can, point my finger at fear and tell her she's just like a bold-faced liar. So this one time, when I moved back home to New York, again, in 3 months, I thought I was going to be up and running and I wasn't. So I didn't tell a lot of people that I was leaving. I actually dropped out of law school to move back home to pursue acting, which is a step. That's a big step. So I didn't really tell too many people what I was doing, and I didn't want anyone to discourage me, so I didn't say anything. This one time I'm in a sorority. This one time I go out and I'm seeing some of my sorority sisters, and one of them goes to me, "Girl, I heard that you moved back to New York to go be on Broadway. You hear the stupidness I'm hearing about you? You hear this craziness I'm hearing about you?" And at first I was so offended and already kind of like embarrassed and kind of and scared that people would know and think I, lost my mind and I was just bugging and I was being crazy. I was scared people were going to be talking about me. And it was like coming to my face. Like, and I was like, well, who said something? Like, and she's talking about you. Actually, but do you hear this craziness I'm saying about you? I'm hearing about you. And it hit me for no longer than 30 minutes because in that same day, at that same bar, same encounter, same person, girl, we didn't even have time to go home and change our clothes. Like, I found out that she wanted to be an actress.
Wow.
So people are projecting their fears onto you. And they think it's crazy because they can't do it.
Yeah.
And they think it's stupid and they got something to say because of their own insecurity. Once I had that experience and I thank God for it, I mean, God bless her. I have nothing, I needed that. And I hope if someone is listening to this and you care about the criticism of others, trust. Ain't nobody who is chasing their dream and pursuing their passion and posting their content and sharing their art with the world. Ain't nobody out here doing nothing scary, talking smack about you. It's the people out there too scared to pull a trigger that are talking smack about you.
Yep. 100%. 100% agree.
Okay, thank you for listening. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Okay, so balancing waitressing, you were temping, improv, and writing. All of that sounds intense. Like you were doing a lot. How did you manage the stress of this lifestyle? And were there any wellness practices or routines that helped you stay grounded?
So at the time, again, I didn't know what I didn't know. So this is my late 20s, early 30s. When I was waitressing, I wasn't temping. Like once I found temping, I stopped waitressing. And, and at the time I didn't have an agent yet. So, or a manager, like I wasn't repped. So while I was still finding my stride and, doing improv, doing sketch, taking classes, when you're a waitress, you can kind of have a flexible schedule. So if I would by chance find an audition for myself, again, because I didn't have reps, I can go. Or if I was taking a class, I can, balance my waitressing calendar and schedule, but, around my class. Once I started temping, I do not suggest anyone do this. However, I do not suggest that you do this. I used to just write at my desk. I would write at my desk and, I would get all my work done the best way I could. And I was pretty efficient. I would always get my work done. No one was complaining about me not doing my work. But I started hoarding reps while I was like temping and doing improv shows. Do you know what? Well, hoarding reps is basically like you find managers and agents that you want to work with, or someone may have recommended you for. And every so often, if you have their contact information, don't be creepy, but like if you have already been in discussion with them or if you've been introduced to them, just keep them updated. Like, hey, I have a show today. Would you like to come? Give you a comp ticket. And I would do that. I would do that every time I had a show. And there was one manager in particular who I did that with all the time. And he ended up becoming my manager. But before he became my manager, we had coffee, we talked. I explained to him my vibe. I'm a multi-hyphenate. I act, I write. These are my goals. I want to be an Academy Award winning actress. And now I'm writing, so I want my own show. And so now I want an Emmy and an Academy Award.
Yeah.
And, just spilling all my dreams and my heart out to him. And this one day, he emails me a writer's packet. So a writer's packet, they're more common in New York because there are more late night opportunities in New York. But basically, it's an application to apply for a late night show. And they give you a bunch of writing prompts. You complete the packet, you send it over, and that's how you get an interview for a writing job for a late night television or a variety show. So he sends me a packet for a late night show. At my temp job, I'm working on my packet. Deadline comes the day before, 2 days before I send it back over. He emails me back and he said, Rasheda, this isn't good. I'm not comfortable sending this over. And I was like, okay, if you have any notes for me, I'll gladly take the notes and I'll apply them. This probably was the day before it was due. So he sends me notes. I take the notes, I apply the notes, and I send the packet back. And he writes me back. So now this is the day the packet's due. Oh. And he's like, hey, Rasheda, thank you for applying the notes. However, it's still not there. I don't feel comfortable sending it. And I was like, okay, do you have another round of notes for me? I'll take another round of notes. And he was like, okay, I mean, it's due today at 5:00. I was like, yeah, I know. I understand that. I'll just work on it right now. And he gives me another round of notes. I apply the notes. I submit it before the deadline, a few hours before the deadline. And he gets back to me. This time he calls and he's like, Rasheda, great job with applying the notes, but it's still not quite there. And these things get passed around. I don't want it to reflect poorly on you or on me. And I was like, okay, I understand that. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I get off the phone with him and I was like, I ain't never gonna hear from these people again. And at the same time, I am working at a temp job with a woman who is absolutely crazy, and she is chewing me out by the day. Every day I'm leaving there like, oh, I don't know what I did, but to offend her personally. But this woman is going to be the death of me. Girl. She is going to be this is it. This is how I go. Like, this is how I go. This is it. So the next day I go into the office. I go into her office. She back on her stuff. I call my temp agency crying. I'm like, I cannot work with this. I cannot work for this woman any longer. She is like devastating my mental health. They were like, get out of there. So I leave the building, and this is, my means of income, right? And I by the time I get in the elevator, I go downstairs. I'll never forget this. I was on 14th and 9th. And right there in New York, there's this thing called the High Line. So by the time I get downstairs, down the elevator into the street, I made a promise to the Lord. I said, God, I will never, ever stay in another situation because of fear. And the moment I made that promise, I'm about to walk up the stairs to the High Line. By the time I got to the top of the stairs, I got a phone call. It was the manager. And he said, I spoke to the team. They want to work with you. Wow. And my career changed after that.
Oh, amazing.
I cannot. Oh, girl. Example number 2 about fear being a bold-faced liar. Yeah. She just be lying. She just lie. She be lying. Working with that manager, he was incredible. He got me the packet for Talk Show, the game show. Yeah, which was a show on True TV. Guy Branham was the host of it. That I booked that job based on that packet and interview. I had to come out to LA for like 8 weeks. So I think that was an 8-week contract. And right on that show, that's where I learned how to truly craft a joke. You'll be shocked. Research and just writing to your voice, even just writing to things that you think are funny, is very, very helpful, and it's good to have a point of view. But there is a science, there's a craft to joke writing. And working on Talk Show, the game show, taught me how to craft a joke. So I did that contract. That was my first big WGA job, but my second WGA job because I had a low budget a new media contract with the W for that. But that was like my first low budget new media or WGA contract. And then I got a job on Adam Ruins Everything, which was a 16-week assignment. So I came back to LA to do that. And this is all working with the manager that I thought would never work with me, right? But God. Amen. I auditioned for the CBS showcase while I was writing on Adam Ruins Everything. Like, one of my lunch breaks, I went for my callback, booked the CBS showcase. And Robbie Reed, she is a casting director and just an angel in the industry. I love to say that because she changed my life. Robbie Reed found me at the CBS showcase. She called me in to audition for this new show produced by Will Packer called Bigger. I went into audition actually for a different role But something crazy was kind of happening. Girl, I just feel like I'm spilling my life, but I don't know if you want to hear all of this.
I want to hear it all. Yes, I think we all want to hear it all. Yes.
So long story short, something was going on in my life at the time, and like my family was going through something, and I needed to call my family. This is the day of my audition for Bigger, my first audition. And I go upstairs, I do my audition, and Robbie Reed goes, "You're funny. Take these sides, go back out, and I want you to audition for another character." The character's name is Tracy. And I was like, "I'm sorry, right now I can't. I just, not to get too deep, but I just, got a message from my family, and I need to kind of check in to make sure everything is okay." And she was like, "Oh, that's not a problem. We'll reach out to your managers, and we'll reach out to your reps, and we'll just get you back in here." So I leave Viacom. I go downstairs. I call my manager. I tell him what's going on with my family, and then I tell him what happened at the audition. And he was like, "Actually, that's probably for the best, because it gives you more time with the material, so you get to study it. I'll follow up with them, and we'll get you back in there." Yeah. That's what happened. Girl, 5 or 6 auditions later, I booked Tracy.
Oh, wow. 5 or 6 auditions. You stayed in there.
Yeah.
I love it.
It was a process, and it was cool because I was in the trenches with the rest of the cast. So it was a method to the madness.
I love Bigger. It was such a good show. Such a good show. Okay, so writing and acting both require a lot of mental resilience. Do you incorporate any mindfulness practices or self-care routines to help you stay focused and inspired?
Yes, I hike. Being outdoors and being in nature helps me a lot. I pray. I keep community with good people. That's important to me. That is a huge part of my mental wellness and my mental upkeep, to notice when I feel uncomfortable and listen to that voice, and not, subject myself to continuously feeling like that around, whatever situation has caused me to feel that way. Yeah.
I love it.
I journal. I write a lot. I'm so grateful that I found writing in such a weird way, because it was through sketch comedy. But, if I can write every day, I do. It's so, I don't know, girl, it just blessed me, and it's helpful. And writing down my thoughts, writing down my dreams and the visions, writing down stories, writing down just what's in my heart, even if I have no intention of showing it to anybody, even if I would, like faint if someone else read it. It's just, my own personal thing. But writing is therapeutic for me, and also therapy.
Can't forget that part.
Yeah, also
forget that part. Yes, I love it. Okay, so
can I say something else though? And dancing. Okay. I learned that on a cellular level, like, dancing makes you younger. So when I can, I dance.
I love that. I think it's the freedom of it. I can see how it's just letting your body and its movement and all the things. I can see how that would be. Yeah, I love that. So you would say those are some non-negotiable wellness habits. Like you kind of need those for your creative work. And have any of those habits evolved as you progress in your career, or are these things you've been doing the whole time, or are these new things that you discovered that work for you now?
Hiking is definitely new. It's an LA thing.
Yeah.
Because we have, that's a thing out here. We have the weather, we have the trails, we have the space. Now, I think I would always love to live in a space where I can have access to nature. And being in nature and being safely in nature is something that has helped me tremendously with my wellness and my creative process. But that's a new thing, that I didn't grow up hiking. Though I grew up exercising and being pretty fit. My dad's really fit, and he always stressed the importance of physical fitness to my brother. And writing, I think, is, well, even when I was younger, I wrote. I kept a diary, and things like that.
Of course. So y'all, I think us girls all did that, with the diary.
I mean, as far as creative writing, my brother was a way better creative writer than I was. And he used to write these dope stories, and they would always just blow. And he's an excellent creative writer. And I kind of just work the muscle till I got there.
Yes. That's okay. You got there though. Because I was getting ready to
Got
say,
there though.
you got there. That's all that matters. So you now teach an intro to TV writing workshop and you run a newsletter for
Yeah.
writers. How does helping others nourish your own wellness and creativity?
That's a beautiful question. I think I started doing the newsletter from the advice of a mentor, and it helped me a lot. I started teaching the class. Frankly, one of my homegirls, who is a really great writer, she needed someone to fill in for her to teach a class at a festival, an intro to the TV writing pilots class, and she asked me to do it. Actually, this circles back my homegirl Keisha Zoller, who I know through UCB. She was the diversity coordinator when I was first starting out. She was the one who helped me get my first internship at UCB. She reached out to me and she was like, hey, are you available this day? Would you be available to teach this intro to TV writing class? And I ain't saying no to Keisha because I love Keisha. So I said yes. I drove up to Vegas. I taught the class, and it was really, really fulfilling to connect with the students and to hear people say that they were inspired to get back to their art and to get back to their work and to work on their projects based on the workshop. So I wanted to repeat the workshop. So I did it again on Zoom, and now I have it in on-demand format where you can just subscribe to the class and take it through and take it on your own time. Yeah, to serve others through that opportunity. I don't know. I didn't think I would it would impact me the way that it did, but I wish you could see my face because I'm smiling, even just like thinking about it. When something puts a smile on your face like that, girl, repeat it. So that's what I do. And writing the newsletter, it's another opportunity for me to write. It's another opportunity for me to share my heart, to share resources, to share what I've learned and what I'm learning. And, just to make sure that everything that I have in my little toolkit is written down and it's somewhere out there in the world. So when I am no longer here, there is access to it, if that makes sense.
Yes.
It would kind of
So
be a
exciting.
shame, right?
Yes, that's so exciting.
Leave this earth with all of that stuff still in you, and you ain't share what you do with others.
Girl, that's what I always said. I said, my biggest fear is of all the fears that, because I used to be more afraid of failing. Like I was a kid and there was so many things that, to this day, I don't know how to swim. And that's something I do want to take swimming lessons because I'm trying to do things now as an adult or 36 years old that I'm trying to do now that I never did to get out of my comfort zone, and kind of face those fears. But when I was a kid, I never learned how to swim. My mom never forced me. She was a lifeguard. My mom could swim like a fish, but she didn't want to force me to traumatize me. So as a kid, she just kind of let me do what I was always in my own. I was, content by myself, doing my books and all that stuff, So I was never that type. But now as I've gotten older, I love nature and all the things as a kid that I didn't, that I, not to say shied away from, but I wasn't as it wasn't something that I appreciate as I do now. But a lot of the things that I didn't do as a kid, one of that was because of my fear of failure. And so now as I'm hey, I realize that failure sometimes is a part of life. It's, it is what it is. So I've embraced it. But my biggest fear of all, I always said my biggest fear is not doing what it is, the purpose or fulfilling the purpose that I believe God has called me here to do. Whether that be helping, inspiring somebody else, pouring whatever it is that I have inside of me to the world. I feel like if I don't do that and I leave this earth tomorrow, that would be the worst fear. Is not doing the thing that I know I'm supposed to do. So yeah. So I get that. Yeah.
That's the right thing to. I think that's when fear comes in handy. That's when fear isn't lying.
Absolutely. So great. So, all right. So what do you think is one of the biggest challenges that writers face today, especially those trying to break into TV How can cultivating wellness and resilience help navigate these obstacles?
The biggest challenge, I can speak for myself and my peers, just consistency. If you're consistently writing, you're consistently getting better. So what you need is consistency. Sometimes that just means that we need a writing process, and we need to set a writing process for ourselves that works with our schedule, and we need to respect the process in the literal sense. Treat the time with respect, do the writing during the time that you set aside, and honor that time each and every time. Otherwise, those who keep showing up to the party eventually get in. If you keep showing up and you keep doing the work, eventually, it's going to pop.
Yeah, I agree. Just keep showing up. Just like regardless, showing up. I just did a short actually on that. I was talking about how, show up anyway. Like, even if you don't know what's going to come out of it, you don't know how it's going to pan out. You're like, oh my God, why am I even doing this? But I know I committed to it. Like, just keep showing up, and eventually it'll work out. You'll see the whatever it is, the blessing that it is on the other side once you just keep showing up. So I agree with that.
Right. And all labor profits, even if it doesn't pan out the way you envisioned it in your mind, you will still receive good fruit for good work. You know what I mean? And it might, and who knows, it might turn out way better than you envisioned.
Yeah.
Because you didn't even know that you could envision something. You didn't even know to envision how great the thing could have been. So just keep showing up.
Keep showing up. Okay, so reflecting on the ups and downs of your career, how do you maintain a positive mindset, and what advice would you give to others to keep their spirits up?
I'm not positive every single day. I choose to turn my pout roundabout when I'm pouting, when I am pouting. Because I just know that not I just know, but even like the word of God says to keep your mindset on the things above and not the things beneath. It doesn't serve me to ruminate negative thoughts. You know what I mean? That I know. So I just try to choose something different, to choose not to like take that thought captive and choose to not keep going down that path, and to focus on love. Think on things that are hopeful. Think on, things that I'm enthusiastic about. Think about, something positive that happened for me. Think about a thing that actually did work out, instead of, going down a path of things that regrets, or things that didn't work out, or a memory that hurts me. I try to just think of a positive memory. And if I don't have access to it at that time or at that moment, I talk to God about it. And I ask him to help me.
I love it. He always does. He will.
And he will.
And he will.
And he will.
Absolutely.
Well, we out here human. I'm not going to, I don't think life was created to be, I'll say this differently. I think life was created with challenges to enhance us and make us better. And so when those challenges come and, you got to go through them, it's, I don't know. I just don't want to get my ass beat by life. I think that's how you fight back, by setting your mind on things above and, actually applying the scriptures to your life.
I love that. I love it. Okay, so family, what projects or goals are on the horizon for you, and where can people find more about your work and your workshop?
So I just won an award. I won an Anthem Award for my creative work and social impact. I have a YouTube series where I talk about climate change and the things that could happen if we don't start caring about it now. And I just won an Anthem Award for that project.
Nice.
I'm currently involved in Thank you. I'm currently involved in a fellowship where I will be presenting a show pitch in April in New York City. That's something I'm really excited about. And, I'm pitching and developing shows literally as we speak. That's where I'm going to head off to go into and do. And I encourage anyone, if you're interested in keeping in touch with me, subscribe to my newsletter. And you can find the link to my newsletter on my Instagram at Rasheda Crockett on Instagram. And yeah, if anyone's interested in taking the class or staying up on resources and my thoughts on the industry, my newsletter is where I spill all my tea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she does. And I'll make sure that everything is linked in the show notes as well.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you. Thank you for your time, Rasheda. I really do appreciate you. And you're just a beautiful soul, beautiful spirit. And
God bless you. Thank you. God bless you, girl.